when we were at the TSBA meeting in one of the out sessions, this really wasn't part of that session, but we got into the discussion on the partisan election. And as I understand it, the partisan election is up to the parties in each county. If the Democrat Party says, yeah, it's going to be partisan, it's going to be partisan. If the Republican Party says it's going to be partisan, it's going to be partisan. It doesn't have to have, the legislature hasn't got anything. As I understand it right now, as it stands, it's already been signed by the governor.
That's correct.
And so it's what it is. So now the decision as to whether Hawkins County school board elections are partisan or not are up to either the Democrat Party or the Republican Party. They don't have to both agree. It can be either one. Either one of them can say, okay, well, it's going to be partisan, and it's going to be partisan.
So it has nothing to do with the election commission?
It has nothing to do with it. It's up to the party, the chairmans or the Democrat or the Republican committees in the county.
They form the election commission, and the election commission has to follow.
Right.
Would it hurt anything to make a resolution where it just basically says we urge an assembly?
Well, the reason I brought it up was because this particular resolution doesn't address the right people, in my opinion, based on what we learned at TSBA at the convention, at the TSBA convention. It's up to the Republican and the Democrat parties in the county to determine whether it's partisan or not.
So that's exactly what the legislation says.
Right.
This was amended or repealed or whatever, we're stuck with it.
Well, let's just add,
The local board has nothing to do with it.
let's just add, as this is written, and add the Republican and Democratic parties.
Instead of the General Assembly at the bottom there?
No, the General Assembly too, because they can change the law.
They're gonna, if that's the case, then they're gonna have to pull that. I mean, they're gonna have to completely write that law, because it's already in law. And it's already been, and we can oppose it to the General Assembly, but whether or not the General Assembly as a whole will pull it or not, because the General Assembly as a whole put it in.
I understand that. I'm here tonight. I don't know how the rest of the board is going to vote on this, and thank you for that information, because I heard it's up to the election commission,
No,
and it's not true.
No.
It's up to the county commission.
it's not true. That's
Has nothing to do with that, and I am aware that
You know, it is.
our governor has signed this as it is a law. The law as originally proposed was amended down to, it's up to each party.
in the county.
But legislation can be changed by this General Assembly, correct?
Yes.
And a new law could be made, so I think all it's saying is we urge them not to do that. We're
But
basically
it's
saying,
already done.
To repeal it or modify it.
It's
Well,
already
let's
done.
change the word.
Yeah.
Make a
I mean, we
recommendation
can.
for changing the word. What would you change?
Well, I don't know. I mean, as far as I know,
What did you change?
it says that the Hawkins County Board urges the General Assembly to oppose any legislation that would allow school board elections to be partisan.
Well, we encourage to change the legislation.
Well, we gotta change it to the point that we would want it brought back up, if that's the case, when the General Assembly reconvenes in January.
I just hate to leave here tonight and not send some kind of message.
Well, we've got, if that's the case,
Now let me say this. We, as a Board of Education, that is our duty and honor to represent the students and to educate them and to provide opportunities for them to become productive citizens, and not one person contacted this board from the state legislature. Not one person.
when you get right down to it though, our main obligation is to the taxpayers. It's our job to see that the taxpayers' money is spent in the right direction. However, when it comes down to the election, they have, the state legislature has already declared, and the governor has already signed it, that it'll be up to the separate party committees in the county to determine if it's partisan or not. Now, that's what they did through, as a completion of it all. So the state legislature, at this point, they'll say, well, we don't have anything to do with that. They can say, we don't have anything to do with it.
They've acted the law, they did.
They did, they made a law, so they can say, well, I mean, you can tell us all day long to oppose it, but it's not our,
After they
it's,
got watered down, the original bill said it was gonna be mandatory in partisan.
right.
They got watered down.
Right.
So we got that.
If we would have had forewarning of any of this.
Oh, they snuck it through at the last minute, they got through.
Oh, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah,
So I want to sneak some kind of verbiage in saying that, as far as I'm concerned, I'm opposed to the law that they enacted, and it needs to be repealed.
Well, that would be a.
That would be the appropriate thing to do at the legislation level. But we also, unless it gets changed, you know, we're getting ready to come up into an election
I understand
soon.
that. So what's the verbiage? Do we sit here and develop some verbiage tonight and vote on it, or just ignore this altogether until January?
Okay, we can't ignore it now, it goes to the parties, the Democrat chairman and the Republican chairman.
That's exactly
Now,
what
right, now what did Kingsport City
No, I-
vote,
Well, see, apparently they didn't have the knowledge that they needed based on what they did that was in
well,
the
they
paper.
also talked about on, Channel 5,
Okay.
that the Republican Party in Knox County had already declared they want,
Right.
the Republican Party has already requested that it be partisan.
Kathy's got a suggestion here, if you would read that for us.
Well, I think on the last paragraph, it says, now therefore be it resolved that the Hawkins County Board of Education urges the Hawkins County Republican Party and the Hawkins County Democratic Party to oppose. And they can't oppose any legislation because the legislation's already opposed.
To oppose
So
the
oppose
partisan.
the partisan,
Election, not to declare.
yeah, let's see, we urge them not to
That's the
declare.
legislation to consider repealing the partisan language that they got.
Yeah, underneath that.
And not ask to declare it this year.
Anytime.
Yeah.
Anytime.
Then you're just delaying it, you're not killing it.
Right, but if they do it now, I mean, they have to declare if we're urging them to do it. It would have to be before January, wouldn't it? I don't know when the. when
They got
the-
time in there, but I don't know the stack with, but it's far beyond that.
Yeah, it's near. It's near.
February the 17th, I think is the cutoff
They
date.
said on the May primaries, they've got some more legislation
Well,
referred
that would be later.
As it stands now, it's up to the two parties in the county.
Right.
So what if we change it to, now therefore be it resolved that the Hawkins County Board of Education urges the Hawkins County Republican and Democratic parties to oppose partisan election designation that would allow or mandate school board elections to be partisan.
That sounds perfect.
Oh, this is the legislation still there.
We understand it. We got that. We're, like I said earlier, I just want us to make a statement as a board.
We're just asking them not to make it partisan.
You can ask them not to do it.
Yeah.
but
That's it, that's basically what you're doing.
I
Right
understand.
now, as the law stands right now, the only thing that you could do is urge the two parties to oppose that.
Or to remain, or to have the election to remain nonpartisan.
Right.
And that's what this verbiage would do as it was read there.
Yeah.
So,
It's strictly up to them.
It is, you can't mandate it.
That is very clearly understood, very clearly. And then I'm going to request we do another resolution for January, send it to the legislature to appeal this law. Repeal. Thank you.
I agree with that.
An appeal to you.
It wasn't appealing, so we won't appeal.
Just like that.
Okay.
Can you read that one more time?
Now therefore be it resolved that Hawkins County School Board of Education urges the Hawkins County Republican and Democratic parties to oppose partisan election designation that would allow or mandate school board elections to be partisan.
Or reject, you might as well say reject or oppose.
And something about
That
that
means they
they
want to do it.
would not declare, you know, like Knox County has already requested for the May primary. They've already requested it. that we would want them to refrain from requesting a partisan election.
Yeah, reject is dangerous.
Put both of them in there. I like it.
I like that word refrain.
It gets the point across either way.
Okay.
Clean that up and retype it.
Alright.
All in favor? Any opposed? Resolution passes.
I'll circulate it once it's cleaned up and needs everybody's approval, then I'll circulate it for signature.
We need to do that pretty quick, because I know those deadlines are gonna start coming up, especially when people start applying for petitions to run for the offices.
And I appreciate you bringing that up. Mr. Phillips was bringing us up to speed on that before the meeting, but what you said about them sneaking that in, it was right before our last board meeting, so we grabbed language that opposed that, and then it went into law.
And between now and then, they should have to.
Right.
Yeah, because up to the point that when we were in Nashville, up to that point, right up to that point was when the governor signed it.
Right.
And it hadn't been signed prior to that, so it was right before we went to Nashville that he signed it.
Hey, instead of waiting until January, I'm gonna make a motion that we go ahead as a board and vote on approval of a resolution to send to the legislature to repeal this law. Rescind, repeal, do away with, do what's right, our school systems. And I'll make that and let Matt draft this, circulate it to us, so we'll go ahead and get approved. That's my motion.
I'll say.
Have a motion, have a second. Any further debate? With none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None opposed. So there, we knocked that out. Yeah, just bringing that to our attention.